And hello, everybody. This is Napa Fan here on the Flatout Racing Network, and we welcome you to tonight's presentation of the Rolling Thunder Gaming BareBones Racing Series from the Kansas Speedway. The third race of the season for this series, and we have 107 laps of action for you here tonight on the Flatout Racing Network. I'm joined alongside Jessica Shelton. And Jessica, we're hearing that this race might be a tough one to make passes. Tire wear is going to come into play. How do you think this race is going to play out here tonight for the BareBones Racing Series?
Well, from what I can tell, they're probably just going to mind their P's and Q's and be smart when they actually make passes based on tire fall off and everything else that we've heard. You know, you don't want to be really aggressive at the very beginning to screw up your tire wear, but at least you want to make the right moves when it counts to actually getting track position toward the end.
It'll be interesting to see how this race plays out. Starting on the pole position for tonight's event is Jeff Supta in the number 11. And alongside him, it is the number 39 of Josh Metallic. That's the front row for this race. Of course, the top three finishers from last week's race, Grant Wesley, Sean Prime, and Tim Nosker, start at the back of the field.
You mean the past three races? The top three.
Yes. Then we have Steve Milson. He'll be starting in the third position alongside the 56 of Jeff Crivello. Jeremy Jeffries in the number 8 will be starting third alongside the number 13 of Dave Milson, the 51 of Bob Lacans in that machine, and then Jack Dussault in the 36. The 18 of Robert Balcom and the 20 of Ivan Gonthe starting in the 10th position. That will round out the top 10 starting positions.
I believe we also
and we're ready
have
to begin this race here from the Kansas Speedway.
Okay. I'm just checking something, sorry.
So, Jess, who do you think is going to have the advantage here today at Kansas?
Well, if I have to pick favorites, I do like Robert Balcom in the 018. Is we ready to go green here?
We'll have to see how it all goes down. Green flag in the air here at the Kansas Speedway. We're racing in the third race of the season in the BareBones Racing Series.
And already, you can see that they're all trying to get themselves sorted out to a single file position already, because I mean, I don't know which lane would be more preferred here, but it seems like they all want to try to get position and get in line quickly so they don't pass and use up all their stuff early.
And like we said, it's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out. Not expecting many passes in this event here today, but tire wear and pit strategy will definitely be a huge factor in this event. Supta moving up high, taking a middle line through turns 1 and 2. Josh Metallic gaining a little bit of ground on him in the 39 throughout a majority of the field already. Single file here at the Kansas Speedway. First double wide battle there between the 72 and the 12, roughly around the 16th position.
And nobody's fallen off at all. Everyone's pretty much still caught up all the way back to current back runners of the 83 and the 7 being the 007, sorry, of Doug Cady, I believe his name is, way in the back here. Looks like they're just trying to be careful and right around there. Don't look like they're pushing it too early.
There's a very long race here, 107 laps, so a lot of time to make a mistake, and you don't want to make it too early if you do make one, but obviously these guys don't want to make a mistake at all, and especially these guys will be thinking about tire wear in this event too, so you don't want to overdo the tires.
We already got passing from the top three back here. You got Tim and Sean. They're already making moves to start moving forward up here. Way back here, they've already gained a few spots.
And like we mentioned, Sean Prime, Tim Nofsker both started in the back of the field for this event. They all already gained a few positions early on here at the Kansas Speedway. Of course, Sean Prime, the winner of the last race we had in this series at Martinsville, already up to the 28th position right now for driver number 15, Sean Prime. Go back to the race lead. Supta continues to lead with Josh Metallic in the second position. Then Steve Milson in third. Jeremy Jeffries in the 8 machine. And then Dave Milson rounding out the top 5.
It looks like the top 2 have pulled away just slightly from third place, Steve Nelson, at this moment. I don't know if they're pushing it hard or if that's actually their normal pace up near the front. What do you think?
I know these guys are fast. They were the 2 fastest guys in qualifying, of course, and right now their lap times And everyone's lap times have pretty much been getting faster. Their lap times are slightly faster than the guys behind them. So we'll have to see how it all goes down. But Zupta, Metallic, definitely a couple of strong guys. 38 did close in a little bit there. Steve Milson a little bit closer to Josh Metallic that time by. Jeremy Jeffries currently still in the 4th position. Everyone about the same distance behind. And what Sean was saying before the race began in our drivers' meeting is that the draft is going to definitely come into play here at the Kansas Speedway. We have a high downforce package with these trucks, and if you're right behind somebody, you can definitely gain an advantage by being right behind them.
There's a bit of passing going on in the back, but it seems up near the front they're all trying to make sure that they got their stuff safe for when it counts. It looks like everyone back here is trying to push it and gain position, so during pit stops they'll actually get the advantage. And we heard, I believe it's about what is it, like 30 laps for
32 to 34 laps, the fuel window here. It is possible to stretch to 35, but you would definitely have to try very hard to do that. That's what Sean told us at the beginning of the show. But Sean's definitely done a great job moving up to the 25th position now, and Tim Nausker running right behind him there in 26th. So these guys definitely doing a great job so far, moving their way from the back to the front. And with the long race we have, they may find themselves up front by the end of the day.
Meanwhile, back here, the other driver who started in the back, Grant, he's running in the 29th position currently, just minding himself, not really trying to push it forward or anything, just in his own little zone at this moment.
And a majority of the field single file right now here at the Kansas Speedway.
There's a big gap from Benoit to Ronald Louisier up here in the 62. There's a pretty, I'm not sure what happened back there, but no one's wrecked or off pace. They've just broken away.
Dave Melson looking on Jeremy Jeffries. We'll have to see if he can make the pass, but I don't know if he's going to have the advantage. Jeffries working the middle lane there through the corner, and he will remain in the 4th position for now. Not much changing up front. Metallic has fallen back slightly off of Zupta in the 11. And Steve Melson now looking to the inside of Metallic for the 2nd position, but Metallic able to work the outside lane and stay ahead.
I just can't imagine how badly these drivers want to go to that apron on that front stretch. As we have been told here, the apron on the front stretch is off limits. They have to be on the racing surface at all times, which is pretty much a little mind issue. When you get on that front stretch, you really want to dive down there to pass someone to get a little bit more speed, a little bit more grip if you can, and they can't do that on this one. They have to mind themselves carefully. They have to race on the racing surface, and trust me, when the move comes to make passes, they're going to want to go down there even though they can't.
Got a lot of double wide action going in the back of the field as Sean Prime and Tim Nausker continue to move their way up.
Meanwhile,
Nausker there on the inside of the 84 machine.
Supta's
up here between the two drivers now.
Supta up here is still managing to hold the lead, but it looks like Metallic's getting closer and closer, and it looks like he wants to go to the high side to see if he can find something up there over Supta, but every time he does, it seems that Supta is able to pull away just a little bit.
Metallic working the outside lane, and you mentioned before we went live that it'd be interesting to see if anyone actually tries the outside lane, and Metallic going to try the inside now on Zupta for the race lead. And it does appear that Metallic might actually take it away right here. Battle for the race lead here on lap 12 of 107. And Josh Metallic will get a lap led here tonight at Kansas.
Meanwhile, this battle is still going side by side here, and that's going to bring up 3rd place to Nelson and Jeffries and everyone else right alongside. And now it looks like he's stuck on that high side, and Supta's going to go back now.
Doesn't look like the outside lane has really formed up quite yet. We'll have to see if it does form up a little bit better as we go on throughout the night. Steve Melson unable to get around Zupta there, and the 11 will remain in the 2nd position. But new leader here at the Kansas Speedway, it is Josh Metallic in the number 39.
Meanwhile, there's that gap back here. There's 3 drivers in the back right now, including the 18 of David Lawson. There's a big gap from that point of 32nd on back. The last car in the main pack is Billy Elliser up here in the number 26, and that goes all the way up to the driver of the 87, which is Benoit. And then there's a bigger gap all the way up to the 62 of Ronald Lazier. And that's up in 19th, so pretty spread out here at this moment, but they're still racing side by side in the back, it seems like, more than anywhere else.
And of course, for Sean Prime and Tim Knopfsker, a couple of the faster drivers in this series, they have definitely done a great job moving their way through the field so far, considering the difficulty of passing here at the Kansas Speedway. But Sean Prime now up to the 20th position, I do believe, as he has gotten around the 82. And Tim Knopfsker also working the inside as well. And Grant Wesley has also closed in on Knopfsker and Prime, and all three of those guys right on each other back in the field.
It wasn't too long ago that Grant was just riding in the back here, not really trying to force himself, and all of a sudden he started. And we got another change for the lead. Zupta's back and around right Metallic.
Jeff Zupta back to the inside of Josh Metallic, and the 11's going to take it away from Metallic again, but Metallic is right there. And if you're Steve Melson, you're watching these guys battle, you're hoping that maybe they slip up a little bit and you get an opportunity to go to the race lead here at Kansas.
Honestly, if I'm Jeremy Jeffries or if I'm back here thinking about it, I'm thinking, go ahead, drivers, battle all you want, wear your tires out, and I'll just take advantage when the time comes.
Like we mentioned, tire is going to be a huge factor in this race, a very worn-out surface, an older version of the Kansas Speedway.
And Jeremy's closing in on Melson here off of turn 2.
See if Jeffries finds a way around the number 38 machine.
It seems like a lot of them want to run the middle to high lane, going off the corners pretty much. It seems like that seems to be more favorable in this track.
The guys have been getting good runs there through that middle lane. They still remain single file throughout the top 10 positions here at Kansas.
Tony
Alan Martin there rounding out the top 10 right now, but not much going on midway through the field. It's in the back of the field and up front. We've seen a couple of lead changes so far here tonight at Kansas.
And Tony Fox in the 33 was trying to make something happen here on the driver of the number 96, Dave Robbins, but just couldn't do it and had to back off and have to regroup and try it again back here. It seems like they want to get going, but they can't go, and when they do go, it pretty much just kills any momentum of catching people in front of them. It's going to be a really big dogfight all the way to the end.
In the 6th place, Lockinson the 51, staying behind Dave Milson here. Then you have Robert Balcom in the 18. All the top 7 drivers pretty much right on each other, so if one driver makes a mistake, gets stuck on the outside lane, most likely they're all going to pass them, or at least have an opportunity to do so. Of course, we did see that happen earlier on when Metallic got around Zupta in the 11. Zupta was able to get back into the 2nd position and stay on that inside lane. So we'll have to see how it all goes down if any of these guys make a move before the first cycle of pit stops. But we're over halfway through this fuel run. Like we mentioned, 32 to 34 laps is the fuel run here at the Kansas Speedway.
20. Coming a complete lap 20 this time by, and I'm looking here at 8th place, number 56 of Crivello here. He's trying to close up on 7th place Balcom. He keeps getting a good run, and then he just drives it to the point of just falling back because he doesn't have any draft, no one really working with him. I'm just curious if he's going to be able to catch that lead pack or not, because they're checking up a little bit from time to time, and it just seems like Crivello is able to gain, and then he loses based on the straightaway speed. So it'll be interesting to see if they'll eventually all form back up.
Yeah, Balcom's last lap, 32.578. Crivello's last lap of 32.877, so he's about 0.3 slower than Balcom's time. So unfortunately for Crivello, he's not closing in. Dussault in the 36 is currently 9th. He's running similar lap times to Crivello. And then Jim Glood in the 72 is about the same. So those top 7 guys all running considerably faster than the rest of the field, as you got Steve Milson and Jeremy Jeffries battling for the 3rd position.
And you were speaking about lap times. I'm back here looking at some other experienced drivers. For one, number 18, David Lawson back here. He's managed to unfortunately cement himself in the 32nd position, not able to go anywhere, no one really around him, trying to close in on a driver in front of him, and his last lap time was a 33 flat, so the tire wear, I believe, is starting to show now.
It definitely is. Fastest times we have seen out of our race leaders. Metallic, for example, 32.143 is his fastest time. His last lap of 32.654, so definitely a little bit slower. The tire wear starting to come into play, but they're going to be coming down the pit lane here in about 10 laps, so Won't be on this set of tires for too much longer. I'd imagine it's going to be 4 tire stops for a lot of these guys once that cycle begins, as Jeremy Jeffries has gotten around Steve Melson. And he had been working on him there for a while, but finally got around to passing him. Dave Melson now working on Steve Melson there for the 4th position. But they remain single file, but a pass right there for 3rd. Jeffries looking pretty strong right now in the number 8 truck.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of work to go to catch up to Metallica. It looks like he's getting a better run on the entry of the corners, and then, like we've noticed, it seems like off the corner they pull away just slightly, but Jeffries is hanging in there pretty well. And we're talking about running into pit road coming up soon. It's going to be really chaotic if all of them, or the majority of them, come down all at one time.
It definitely will be. Of course, there is a range, 32 to 34 laps, so we'll have to see how these drivers come in. You probably will see a bit of a split strategy between these drivers, and the yellow is out.
There's yellow.
And it does appear that Dussault in the 36 got spun around. Don't see anybody with damage, but the number 36, who was inside the top 10, has fallen back quite a bit. And this will be a good opportunity for our race leaders to come down the pit lane under caution without any issues and worries about trying to come down under green. So, at least for now, they will not have to worry about that. But these guys will definitely come down this time. Tire wear definitely significant. Fuel running low. And Jeff Zupta in the number 11, the race leader. Let's see what they do on this pit stop. I imagine going to be 4 tires for a majority of the field.
Yeah, I would take 2 games and 4 tires and get out as soon as possible, but based it being on 4 tires and tires being a big concern, I'd probably stay out until like the last lap and then come in and get some fresh tires. I'll have an extra couple laps fresher than what the leaders have. But track position right now seems to be really, really key. Couple drivers staying out.
And some of those drivers staying out. The 72 machine. Jim Glued staying out. And he might be playing that strategy like you mentioned. Obviously, he's going to have to come down here soon. Dave Little.
Well, if you're running at the back, in all honesty, I would probably wait a couple laps and come in. That's probably what they're doing to get a little bit fresher tires or a little bit more fuel in the tank.
And even Jack Dussault also stayed out, and he was one who triggered the caution. Zupta will win the race off, followed by Metallic and Jeffries, Steve Melson, and Robert Baucom gaining a couple of positions on the pit lane up to 5th. Let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the caution. The number 36, Jack Dussault, going around. And I believe at the time he was running around the 9th or 10th position.
Oh, yeah, the 72 barely touched him off in turn 1. Lap 25. Barely got into him, just a little bit of a little tap there, and just hit him in the corner panel at the wrong area, and Jack went around. But luckily, I don't think there was any major damage to the truck, so it looks like he's going to be okay, at least. That's at least a positive note here.
Now, I do believe we have moderate damage set on for this race, so not realistic damage. So, thankfully, will not take Dussault out of the race. And if anything, he may end up on a pretty decent strategy if he's one of the last ones to come down the pit lane under this caution.
Jim
That's what happened. Number 36, he was running 9th at the time, and he is now currently down the pit lane.
Jim Glode, or Gloud, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name improperly. He's down, and he was the one who made slight contact with 36. Seems like they're going to come down and take the opportunity to get some fresh tires now and get everything settled. And I don't suppose there's any major issues to anyone's truck after that, so should be good. Now they pit though 10 laps earlier than what they were, scheduled to roughly. I mean, I'm sure they're all happy about getting fresh tires, but I'm just wondering how that's going to happen to the fuel run later on.
Definitely could be interesting. Lots of times you get that caution, and the fuel runs are very strict, and you expect to run them, but obviously we don't get a caution-free race every day, and those cautions definitely change that strategy up. You never know what could happen in one of these races. But Jeff Zupta will be the race leader once we get back to racing. Dave Little stayed out 2 laps there, led a lap in the 83. He's going to top off here and get 4 tires, and I believe within a couple laps we'll be back to racing here at the Kansas Speedway.
And a few of these drivers back here in the pacing, I'm going through them and I'm listening to them. Some of them are clutching, saving some fuel.
This could become a fuel mileage race here at the Kansas Speedway. Always interesting when that occurs, and especially in a race where passing is difficult. So, lights are out on the pace truck. We'll be going back to racing lap 30 of 107. Race leader Jeff Zupta in the 11 machine. Then Josh Metallic will be second
Jeremy
on the
Jeffries with a little
restart.
bit of warp. He's moved to the apron to try to sell his warp out. Now he's going to come back up and get back in his position in third.
Jeremy Jeffries there in the third position. Hopefully he will figure the warp issue out and be able to continue on here tonight. Steve Nelson.
Benny, this is going to be interesting because now we've got a restart coming up, and I'm wondering who's going to spin their tires, and I wonder if that high side is going to get any advantage here. We'll find out in a moment.
It'll definitely be interesting on this restart. You got Steve Nelson there in fourth, Robert Balcom in fifth, Dave Melson is sixth. In the seventh position, Jeff Crivello is eighth, Andre Monaghan in ninth. First time we've seen him inside the top 10 today, and then Richard Martin rounding out the top 10. Double file restart, lap 30 of 107. Back underway here in the BareBones Racing Series from Kansas. Watch out for the 8 of Jeremy Jeffries. He's going to be on the inside there of Josh Metallic, and he has a nose on Zupta, but he's not going to be able to get a run on the 11, but they are side by side for the second position between Metallic and Jeffries.
Yeah, after that first run, they see that they want to go now. This is time to go. They want to get those track position. They want to settle into a nice long run and just keep their position. And now it seems like there's a battle going on back there for third.
Oh, it's Steve Melson is...
Oh, on the apron,
on
too.
the apron. There might be an issue on the 38 machine. He had a run on Jeffries, but he has fallen back. Not entirely sure what's going on, but he is losing a ton of ground right now. Have to get word on what's going on there in the 38 and 43 of Richard Martin. It's in a side-by-side battle with the 56 and got shot up the racetrack, hit the outside wall, and they're all scrambling to get around him back in the field.
Well, luckily they didn't have an issue where the caution came on. That would have been really detrimental to a whole bunch of people. And you got the 088 of Tim. He's back here running currently in the 31st position. So a lot of these guys that come back in.
Oh, and around number 57, Stefan Martinel. And we got a wreck in the back. They're piling up through turn number 1. Benoit Plord in the 87. The 18 machine of Dave Little, or should I say David Lawson's around. And then the 8 also got caught up in that one. But I think it was Grant Wesley. Barely got into Stefan there. And around he went. Tough break for those guys. And our second caution of the night here at the Kansas Speedway in the BareBones Racing Series. Zupta will be the race leader, then Metallic, Jeffries, Balcom, and Dave Melson. That was a much bigger wreck than what we saw earlier on, and there you see Martel there.
I'm sure we got damage this time.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are getting caught up with heavy damage after this one. But right there for Stefan in the 57.
I have a feeling everyone's going to come back down and take 4 fresh tires and fill it up.
And the good thing about this game is they have unlimited tires. They don't have to worry about running out of them, so especially on a worn-out surface like this.
Well, we knew at the restart that people were going to be trying to jostle for position and try to get track position early on.
I'm looking definitely at the mess back in there.
I'm looking at the replay. It seems like Grant just barely clipped the 57. 57 came down, thinking there was a hole there, I believe, and unfortunately there was nothing there. And then behind them, there was a whole group that was reacting to the wreck so they could slow down and avoid it. And when you slow down at these speeds, the last second plus tire wear like this, not much reaction time for a lot of these people trying to miss it.
We'll see what happened here. Stefan Martel cut down just slightly there, and Grant Wesley was there. Just a racing incident. And the 57 tried to save it, but it's a tough place to make a save here once you go around, especially considering the tire wear. Good job for Grant Wesley, though, not actually getting caught up in it, even though Martel went off the front bumper of him. And then, like you mentioned there, Benoit got spun around there. He tried to slow down, but he just lost control of the truck and the
And
87
then
in the
you got
outside wall.
David Lawson doing almost a perfect 10 barrel roll up there.
Oh, yeah, right there. Got rear-ended by somebody and sent upside down.
And then he collects the 57, and the 57 goes for a ride as well. It's going to be... I don't know how much damage those guys have. Hopefully it's nothing too severe to knock them all the way out. Hopefully they can continue and gain positions.
And Dussault caught up in his second caution of the night, too. Tough break for the 36. But he didn't gain that much damage compared to the other drivers in this wreck. We'll replay this in real time. See right there. Martel getting spun off and into the outside wall went the 57. And then you see Benoit get checked up there and I think got rear-ended by the 18 of David Lawson, who then proceeded to get hit by, I think it was the 26 of Elisor. And it's tough to avoid these wrecks when they happen, especially like you mentioned. They try to slow it down, and sometimes a car just wants to go out from under you.
Going into a corner.
That's what happened to a few guys there.
Going into a corner, brake bias really high up, knowing that this is a tire wear track, a little bit loose in the back end, especially on cold tires on these restarts. Trying to avoid it. Sometimes things just happen that are out of control, and I don't blame anyone for what happened on that. I just think that it's just a cause and effect issue. When you see a wreck, you're trying to slow down, you can't help it.
Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, see someone going around, your initial reaction is simply just to slow down.
Now, based on this caution coming out, remember what we were discussing beforehand. We had a full about 32, 34 laps for a fuel run, right? And what we were talking about for pitting. They came in around 25, 26 to pit, and now with this caution coming out a few laps later, they're right back on schedule. And I'm just really worried to see what happens because cold tires, they're racing side by side trying to gain track position early. I wonder what's going to happen throughout the rest of this race, especially when we go back to green. There's nobody currently out of the race at this moment, which is really, I'm just happy that no one's out,
David Lawson there, I believe he will probably be the last driver to restart in the 34th position. 34 starters in tonight's event here from Kansas. Thank you so much for watching here on the Flatout Racing Network. And it's Jeff Supta who will be leading us back to the restart, or second restart of the night here in the BareBones Racing Series from Kansas. He'll be alongside the 39 of Josh Metallic. We got Jeremy Jeffries, Robert Balcom, Dave Melson, and Bob Lachance in the 51. My apologies if I do mispronounce a few of these names. We are doing our best here. And if we are, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to change their pronunciations and get them correct for the next time. Zupta leading the field in the number 11. He's been the dominant guy of this race. Metallic did lead a few laps there, was able to pass him. Do you think he might have a shot at the race leader, maybe even Jeremy Jeffries here on this restart?
It's hard to say with how aggressive they're trying to run. Some of these guys are just trying to get back to manage themselves correctly and just ride at the moment based on what we've seen. We're going back to green.
Lap 37 of 107. With 71 laps to go here at Kansas. There goes Jeremy Jeffries. A huge run to the inside of Zupta for the race lead, and they're going to be side by side off a turn 2 for the top position. What a restart for Jeffries there from third. The question is, can he hold the inside in the 11, or will Zupta get the run up top?
More side by side. There's more side-by-side racing back here than what we've seen earlier on. They're really trying to get their track position already settled out. They're really getting aggressive back here, trying to find a spot to link into and trying to gain positions right away. So they're really pushing it, trying to get into their own little pattern, their own little rhythm currently right now.
Zupta was able to get the outside lane to work to his advantage, and Jeffries really had to check up on the inside. Metallic going to go to third, then Dave Melson and Robert Balcom the top 5. Lockinson, the 51, is in the 6th position. Then you got Crivello in 7th, Monaghan in 8th, Steve Melson all the way back to 9th. We saw him have the issue earlier on.
Yep,
and then
yellow flag is out.
And the yellow is back out again. Third caution, and it does appear that we had a spin there. Elisor in the 26 and possibly the 28 of Larry Ingram going around in the back of the field. Doesn't look like it was as big of a wreck as the last one that we had. I believe Dave Little, who was on the pit lane, is going to stay on the lead lap. Caution came out at the perfect time for Dave Little, who was on the pit lane during that green flag run there, but Zupta's still leading. Gonna be interesting to see if these guys come down now. They've been on these tires for about 15 laps, but a lot of them have been under caution.
I would imagine they're coming in.
Zupta on the inside there. Looks like he's going to come down. Jeremy Jeffries as well, also going to come down the pit lane. Metallic's going to stay out. Lockins is going to stay out. And the 56 of Crivello is also going to stay out.
Oh, wow.
Guys staying out right here. Strategy, but race leader Jeff Zupta coming down the pit lane in the 11.
Benny, going back to looking at what happened with the wreck, it seemed like it was it all started with the 08 of Glenn Harris. Glenn Harris going up in the corner. He got a little bit loose and he saved it right in front of, once again, Grant Wesley. And Grant was able to manage to hold himself together for that, and they saved it, but then unfortunately behind him, everything else happened so fast. And once again, it's like we said, a product of the you go on the apron, start sliding, people behind him, like Billy Elliser, hit the apron slightly, the back end kicked out on him, and then behind him, everyone started trying to check up a little bit as a precaution, and they just went around. I mean, cold tires, trying to push it early to get some track position. Sometimes but like we said earlier, it just happens like this constantly. They have to be really patient.
And we'll see right here, it was Glenn Harris. I just mentioned that almost went around, and in reaction,
it was behind him that you see Billy Elliser kind of get on the apron and go around. Then you have behind them Larry Ingram kind of starts losing it, and then unfortunately Lawson of the 18 hits him. And got contact off of that. Hopefully there's not much damage on Ingram's vehicle.
Lawson had nowhere to go as Ingram went around there in reaction to the 8 almost going around, but a great save out of Glenn Harris. And unfortunately, a couple other drivers cannot say the same.
I'm really surprised that Grant Wesley missing another one.
He's been close to a couple of them here tonight, but won the first race of the season here in the BareBones Racing Series. So obviously a very talented driver. A good save there. But Ellsworth couldn't save it himself, and he went around, and then Lawson and Ingram came in there. Not a big wreck. I'd imagine this guy should be able to continue, considering we have moderate damage on. And I mentioned Dave Little, who was on the pit lane. He'll be able to remain on the lead lap, as he was ahead of the race leader, had already started the lap, and was able to stay on the lead lap after that caution came out.
Well, looking at the field, you got Metallic. Metallic's got the front row now, and with him starting on the front, you have the biggest, threats that we've had so far this race of Jeremy Jeffries and he's back there right outside the top 10 right now as well. And then you've got Sean Prime, who seems to be getting close to the top 10. Grant stays out to gain track position, it seems like, and he's going to restart in the close to the top 5. He's restarting 6th by the scoring monitor.
Split strategy here under this caution. That's going to definitely create for an interesting scenario here. Lap 42 of 107 currently. We'll restart on lap 43 of 107. And Josh Metallic stayed out. Is the race leader. Bob Lockins in the 51 will be second. Jeff Crivello, Frank Rivard in the 35. And then Ronald Jose in the 62 will round out the top 5. Grant Wesley in 6th.
I'm really looking at the fact of our leader early on, Zupta. He's going to be right there in 9th. It's going to be interesting to see if he can actually force himself to get back up to where Metallic is.
Interesting to see. We'll have fresher tires here. I believe he only took 2 tires on his stop, so it'll be interesting to see how much faster he is compared to the guys ahead of him. But not only that, they're on a different fuel strategy now as well. And mentioned for 32 to 34 laps, the fuel run here at Kansas. That could come into play if we get a long green flag run later on in this race. Here we go. Lap 43 of 107 here at Kansas in the BareBones Racing Series. Josh Metallic, the race leader, with Watkins to his outside. Gravel looking to the inside of Watkins, but could not hold the inside. Bob Watkins will stay in the second position. And he might actually get to the inside of Josh Metallic here. Metallic shot up the racetrack just a little bit off of turn 2. And the 56 of Jeff Crivello could not get going. Grant Wesley getting around him in the 88. Frank Rivard, I should say, in the 35, also going around the 56.
And look at this gaggle of mess back here from 5th on back.
Oh, boy. And you got Zupta there trying to get around a couple guys here. That's the 87. Benoit Plord, who was involved in that second wreck that we had. I believe he also stayed out. And can't count out Sean Prime.
We got a wreck back here in 1. Off of 2.
And another wreck. Richard Martin's around in the 43. And the 8 machine also going around of Glenn Harris. Looks like Lawson got around in the 18 as well. Alan Martin and Dave Robbins. And Tony Fox also got a piece of that one in the 33 as well. Our 4th caution.
All I'm going to say is these drivers better be thankful it's not realistic damage.
Definitely. If it was realistic damage, I think we'd have a few guys knocked out of this race already.
And
these
few
quick
people are a little
cautions
bit
are definitely going to
aggravated.
shake up into the strategy here. You got Josh Metallic, who stayed out under that last caution. And with Watkins in the 51 and Grant Wesley in the 88. Frank Rivard, same for him. Jeff Crivello. And Lucet in the 62. First guy who did come down under the last caution is Jeff Zupta, who is 7th. Will he stay out under this caution?
I'm wondering if Metallic and a few of his other friends here, I'm trying to figure out, well, maybe they thought based on the pattern, how it was going with how people were being so aggressive, maybe they thought that, okay, well, they're racing really aggressively, I'm expecting another caution, I'm just going to stay out and try to stretch a little bit longer, so if we have another caution, I'll be in a better position. And it seems like Metallic is coming on the pit road this time by.
You guys staying out, though, Grant Wesley, Frank Rivard, and Ronald Luze in the 62. Staying out once again, and then Benoit Plord also staying out in the 87. Those were guys who stayed out the last caution who were still staying out under this next caution.
There's a lot of split strategy going on again.
See Josh Metallic there with the second pit stall as he started on the outside pole for this race. He's going 4 tires on the stop. Thing is, a lot of these guys are going to be starting in the back of the field now, and we've seen here in this race that being in the back of the field might not necessarily be one of the best places to be. We've seen a lot of chaotic messes happen back in there. We'll go ahead and double check and see what happened under this yellow flag, the 4th caution of the night here. And the gaggle of cars getting caught up through turn 1. Trying to locate exactly where this happened. And right there, number 12 machine. Of Joe Wooer and the 12. The 7 cut in front of him there. Katie cut in front of him, and the 12 had to check up, and that was enough for him to lose the racetrack just a little bit. The 84 taps him, and then it shoots the 12 up into Richard Martin. Nowhere for Martin to go. And then the 12 sideways on the racetrack as well. And the guys behind him trying to avoid Alan Martin in the 5 going around. And Dussault as well, right in the middle of all this. Ooh, that's a pretty... Oh, I thought he was going to avoid it, unfortunately. Well, he pretty much did. And he got a piece of it there from Richard Martin. But great job by Dussault in the 36 to avoid that one. And you see Lawson spinning in there. And Tony Fox as well. And then the 8 also going around. Glenn Harris and Dave Robbins getting caught up in that one too. Go ahead and show this in real time. And the 12 of Joe Wooer going around, entering turn number 1. Like we've seen with these wrecks, these guys try to check up and lose the race truck trying to do so. Larry Ingram also got spun around in that incident as well. along with the number 8 of Glenn Harris. We had a few drivers still stay out. Grant Wesley, the new race leader.
Benny, I think we should take this opportunity while we're under caution to speak of what Sean Prime, the league owner, was mentioning earlier about the Challenger Series.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Challenger Series, in a way, a second series to the series for those drivers who don't normally run inside the top 5. A lot of drivers part of it here in the BareBones Racing Series. A lot of guys in this race, part of that. We'll have to see how these guys do here tonight. But David Lawson, one of those guys, we've seen him. Joe Wooer, who was involved in an accident, also one of those guys. Just going through the list here and seeing some examples. Jack Dussault as well. We've seen him run up front. He was inside the top 10 earlier on in this race. He's part of the Challenger Series. And a lot of guys are part of that as well. Benoit Plourde, too, one of those guys. But a lot of guys who are on the list who aren't necessarily in this race, so it is a little difficult to pick out one specifically. But definitely interesting series, part of the BareBones Racing Series, to give those guys who may not necessarily compete for wins an opportunity to be part of some form of championship. And definitely a great idea that these guys at RTG have for this series.
And the yellow lights are off, and we're going to be going back to green here on 49 going on. It seems like, it seems like everyone's pretty good still. No one's retired officially yet.
Grant Wesley, the race leader, he stayed out along with Frank Rivard to his outside. And then the 62 machine of Ronnie Lucer running in third, and then Jeff Zupta, who has slightly fresher tires in the top 3, starting in 4th. Wesley with a great jump on the restart, and Rivard trying to hold off the 11 of Zupta, but Zupta's going to get around Luce in the 62, and he's up to the 3rd position now. I have to see if he gets a run on Rivard for the 2nd position.
And I'm looking
slightly
back
higher
here.
If he turns 1 or turns 3 and 4, I should say, and he's going to definitely get a push there through the corner.
And what I was trying to mention was, besides the unfortunate Joe Wheeler retiring from the damage he sustained in that wreck, Dave Little is currently 1 lap down, and Dave Robbins 2 laps down at this moment. So I correct myself.
Tough break for those guys, getting caught up in a couple of incidents. You see Dave Little there in the 83. He's a lap down. But up front, Grant Wesley leading this field, closing in on halfway here at the Kansas Speedway. Had 4 yellows already, and it's starting to go back down the single file. Do have a couple battles. Jim Nosker inside the top 10 now, to the inside of Jim Glued in the 72. Nosker's had an up and down day so far. Started in the back for this race, but now is inside the top 10. And not only that, here comes Sean Prime. He's now up to the 4th position after he also started in the back of the field for this race. Now inside the top 5 in number 15. Zupta looking to the inside of the 35 of Frank Rivard. Not going to get a run quite yet as Wesley continues to lead in the 88. Not to mention, Grant Wesley also started in the back of the field for this race. And again, he stayed out, so he's up front on strategy.
I was going to bring
Sean
that
Prime
up.
now on the outside of the 11 for 3rd.
I was going to bring it up. I was going to bring it up here a moment ago that, we were talking about them starting in the back earlier on, the top 3 winners for the first few races that we had, how it was going to be really hard for them to get to the front because of how the tire wear was coming into play, how the track was, how it was hard to pass, and all these cautions that have happened. They've been able to come in, use pit strategy, and work themselves back up to a position where they could possibly win now.
And all these guys running inside the top 6, those 3 that we mentioned, Jim Nosker, Sean Prime, and Grant Wesley. Of course, Wesley leading the race, but he does have slightly more worn tires than Prime and Nosker, I do imagine. We'll have to see if any of these guys who have fresher tires get an advantage on Wesley. There's Zupta, who does have fresher tires, hitting around the 35 of Frank Rivard. Jeremy Jeffries also going to 3rd. Great run for the number 8 machine here at Kansas. He's been able to rebound through all these cautions. And now for the race lead, Zupta's going to have a run on Grant Wesley for the top position, and the 11's going to move down to the inside and take it right away like it was nothing. Great run there for Zupta, and imagine Jeffries is also going to get a run here on Wesley here soon. Here comes Nosker in the 088, also moving to the inside.
Richard Martin 2 laps down currently. He just showed up that he's 2 down.
A tough break for Richard Martin, who was involved, I believe, in the last wreck that we had here at Kansas. And my apologies, I have been pronouncing Jim Cloud's name incorrectly. Number 72, though, is doing a great job up to the 5th position, and he's going to get around Rivard as well, as Rivard continues to fall back in the 35.
And Metallic's on his way forward. He just passed the truck, and he's looking to pass 2 more as he tries to make his way back up to the front and back to the lead currently.
Moving to the inside of Doug Cady. Able to get the run on him for now. Luce there in the 62 right ahead of Cady. These are guys just outside the top 10 for the moment. Oh, and Cloud got shuffled out of line.
Metallic
oh boy, he's going to get tapped right there from Metallic. A good save out of the 72. He almost sent that thing around, and it looks like everyone's going to keep it straight, but that was definitely a very interesting moment there for Jim Cloud in the 72.
Metallic's pushing it. I mean, it looks like he's not even worried about his tires. He's pushing to gain track position as quickly as possible.
The longer green flag run we have, the more track position is going to mean. So Metallic there going to close in on Luce there. That would be for the 10th position as Cloud fell outside the top 10. Back to the race lead, Zupka and Jeffries, 1-2 right now. Grant Wesley able to hang with these guys, even though he has slightly more worn out tires than the guys he's racing with right now. But a great job out of the first winner of the season. And Novsker there in the 088, currently running in 4th. Sean Prime there in the 15, running 5th. And 3 of these guys, actually the guys who are 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now, all start in the back of the field. Definitely a great run for these guys so far here at Kansas. 50 laps to go here. And with that in mind, I'd imagine we're going to have it, and I know we're going to have at least one more pit stop, but we may end up with 2 more pit stops, depending on who the driver is, because these guys have come down at different times. You mentioned the fuel window, about 32 to 34 laps here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that fuel strategy plays out if this thing stays green here at Kansas.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if people are going to if we're going to have another caution, if we have another small yellow come out, if they're going to take 2 tires or 4 tires.
Tire wear definitely significant, but maybe not as significant as we thought. Of course, Grant Wesley with some of the oldest tires in the field still hanging on to 3rd and running pretty decent lap times as well. But then again, he's also got the draft ahead of him with Jeremy Jeffries
I do want
right
to
off the back bumper.
I want to point this out to you, Benny, that Sean Prime there running in 5th, he only took 2 tires last stop too. He's in desperate need of 4 tires too, but it seems like they're able to manage themselves pretty decently up there.
He just got around Tim Nosker for the 4th position. Great run so far for Sean Prime in the 15. We got another battle back in here. Steve Melson looking to the inside of Frank Rivard. Rivard might have tapped the outside wall just a little bit. And Dave Melson right back in here as well as they battle for the 6th position. Looks like Steve is going to take it away from the 35. And right back here is Josh Metallic in the 39 machine. Got Robert Balcom ahead of him in the 18, and then Frank Rivard in the 35. Balcom's going to have a run to the inside of the 35 now as Rivard continues to fall back.
There's a battle here in front of Josh Metallic. Metallic looks like he wants to capitalize here. Don't know who he's going to go with.
Balcom tried to work the inside, and Rivard could not do it. Now Metallic's going to have a run in the 18 for that position. Doesn't look like he's going to have a run to the inside, though. Balcom looking low, entering turn number 3, but they all remain single file.
There is a caution on the track.
And another yellow. Glenn Harris in the 8 has gone around. It does appear that he might have been the only one.
And this is a big break for people like Sean Prime and Grant Wesley, who can come in and get 4 tires and correct that 2-tire issue that they had earlier. Now that this yellow is out, seems like everyone's going to be a little bit happier to get some fresh rubber.
And the same can go for Zupta in the 11 as well. I believe he only took 2 tires, and then he stayed out under the last caution. So it was 2 cautions ago when he last came down the pit lane. Wesley, 3 cautions ago last time he came down the pit lane in the number 88. So I'd imagine we're going to see a lot of guys come down here. Had a decently long green flag run right there. A very interesting race. I think we're seeing a lot more passing so far in this one than we expected. So how do you think that's going to play into the finish of this race? Jeff Supta coming down the pit lane as the race leader, and
it looks like all of them are
going to come down here.
All of them are coming in.
There's one driver staying out in the back. I imagine this could be for race points. But Zupta in the 11. First driver to come down the pit lane. We'll have to see where he comes out in relation to everybody else here on this next cycle under the yellow flag. And we got ourselves in this race about 45 laps left. So they're still going to have to make another pit stop after this one.
I don't
Four
think we've
tires
seen
for
our
everybody
last
here.
caution, though.
And it will be Zupta who wins the race off the pit lane with Jeremy Jeffries, Grant Wesley, Sean Prime, and Steve Melson, the top 5 off of the pit lane. Let's see what happened to the number 8 machine of Glenn Harris. 5th caution of the night here at Kansas in the BareBones Racing Series for Rolling Thunder Gaming. We appreciate you guys joining us here tonight for this broadcast. We'll take a look and see what happened to the number 8 machine. Racing. Oh, we got tapped there. The 83 came up on him and just sent him around. A little tap, enough to send you around here at the Kansas Speedway. See that one more time. It was Dave Little. You see Dave Little just shot up a little bit there. I think Little thought he had Glenn Harris clear, but didn't. It just barely tapped him, and Harris went around. And then Alan Martin came in there, tapped him, and helped him out a little bit there. Going to be interesting to see how the rest of this race plays out. Now that everyone's back on the same strategy, we have ourselves Zupta back in the race lead. Do you think Zupta is the guy to beat here tonight, or do you think someone else might have the advantage?
Well, I mean, you got Grant, Sean, and Tim running up in the top 6 right now, and they've done a good job working themselves back up. Josh Metallic, unfortunately, has fallen down to 8th, but he had a nice recovery of gaining positions after that last stop. But you're talking about Jeff Zupta being up near the front. He's led most of this race. And then you've got the other factor. The only other person who seems to really have had a strong car early on in this race, or truck, I'm sorry, is Jeremy Jeffries. And he's been pretty aggressive up there as well. So it's either going to be Jeremy or Zupta, unless one of the 3 former winners can come and pull a surprise.
Definitely will be interesting to see who gets it pulled off. Dave Robbins there.
I think there should be
currently
one
a lap
to go.
down, a couple laps down.
I think we're at 1 to go before we go back to green. They're all clutching currently. Most of these guys are clutching at this moment. And that is the case. The pace lights are off at this moment, and a couple of drivers getting their lap back currently as sort of the lucky dog rule that they got in this series.
So that will put Jeff Zupta back at the race lead. Jeremy Jeffries to his outside. Grant Wesley, Sean Prime, Steve Melson, Tim Nofsker, Dave Melson, Josh Metallic, 35 of Frank Rivard, and then Robert Balcom. That's the top 10. A lot of these guys we've seen up front here in this race today. I think they all have a decent shot at possibly even winning here tonight at the Kansas Speedway. But going to be interesting to see what these guys do now that they're all on the same strategy, all have fresh tires. It should be a very interesting restart here on lap 66 of 107. Will in fact be 42 laps to go when we get back to racing, so they will still have to make another stop in this race.
I do want to point out, you see how they've been acting out these restarts and how aggressive they've been, especially between 6th on back and trying to get position. I wonder if they're going to continue that or if they're actually going to slow themselves down now. I highly doubt it.
Probably not done with yellows here tonight at Kansas. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But Jeff Zupta, our pole sitter, back out front. We'll have to see if he can retain this lead ahead of Jeffries and Wesley behind him. And don't count out Sean Prime either, winner of the last race here in the BareBones Racing Series. Green flag back in the air with 41 laps to go at Kansas.
And there's a wreck already back here.
And already another one. She's still around the 36. Larry Ingram again. And the 72. Jim Cloud also going around Glenn Harris.
And now
Another
you have to
caution.
wonder. You have to wonder: are they going to come back in and take 2 tires, or stay back out? You know, because now it's a split strategy once again. That's a possibility.
It'll definitely be interesting. The opportunities there, but everyone barely used their fresh tires that they already put on. It'll be interesting to see if anyone does come down and take 2 tires. I don't know if they're going to gain that much of an advantage at this point, since everyone only raced about half a lap on their fresh tires. So, 6th caution of the night here at Kansas. Jeff Supta continuing to lead here. BareBones Racing Series at the Kansas Speedway. Jeffries was 2nd. Wesley, Sean Prime, and Steve Melson, they remained in their respective positions there from the last restart. To come around, it does appear that Zupta will stay out. Same with the rest of the leaders inside the top 10. So if that, we'll go ahead and see what happened to bring out the 6th caution. Jim Cloud in the 72. Glenn Harris in the 8 also going around. And a multi-truck accident on the restart here. Dussault also caught up, and we'll replay this in real time for you first. Oh, and Cloud ended up getting tapped there and got shot into the outside wall, and then behind that, Ingram and Harris ended up getting spun around trying to avoid. Tough break there for those guys. Have to see who that was specifically. That was Dante Risi in the 84. If you have to mention him here tonight. But he ended up... I don't even know if he really tapped Jim Cloud or not. Just a little bit, but Cloud was already aiming for the outside wall, not necessarily doing it on purpose, but the truck was running right into it there. Just got a little too wide and then came down to do so in the 36. That's all she wrote for those guys in that one. And then right here you see Glenn Harris get into the back of Larry Ingram there and sent those guys around. Definitely be interesting on this restart here. Everybody else stayed out, so they're all still on the same set of tires, essentially. But we're definitely intrigued to see how this one's going to play out here from the Kansas Speedway. Lights are still on the pace car as of now. It's going to be lap 71 of 107, most likely, when we get back to racing here at Kansas. About the same top 5 as we had from the last restart. Jeff Supta leading the field. Jeremy Jeffries is 2nd. Grant Wesley is 3rd. Sean Prime is 4th. Steve Melson in 5th. Tim Nofsker in the 6th position. Dave Melson in 7th. Josh Metalik, Frank Rivard, and Robert Balcom. That's the top 10. Same top 10s we had on the last restart. Going to be very similar to the last restart that we had, I do believe, here once we get to the next one.
So, what are you thinking is going on here, Benny? I mean, what's your opinion about what we've seen here? Because they're trying to be really aggressive for track position, but it seems like only the top 5 or top 7 or so can manage themselves out. These people back here in the far back, they're really trying to make something happen. But the question is, with all these cautions coming out, do you want to push yourself? I mean, I know we got like about 30 some odd laps, 30 or close to 40 laps to go here. Do you want to push yourself now and try to get track position, or do you just want to ride because they're getting really racy in the middle to the back pack, you know? Do you just take your time and wait and see what happens, or are you going to attack and then go aggressive and try to gain as many spots as you can?
It's going to be interesting because it's a tough place to pass here at the Kansas Speedway. So these guys up front, they already have the positions. So that might be why they're running a little bit calmer than the guys in the back. The guys in the back, they want to gain as many positions as possible so they can get to the top 10 as quick as they possibly can. For guys like Supta and Jeffries and Wesley, they're already there, which is probably why we're not seeing these guys run as aggressively as the guys in the back. But either way, I think fuel is also going to come into play here. If we get enough cautions, it's very possible that they might not have to come back down again. I don't think that's going to happen.
If we go green the rest of the way, we're dealing with 37 laps roughly. They're going to have to make one more stop.
Exactly, and if we end up with that situation, they're definitely going to have to come back down again. But if we get enough cautions, like I mentioned, it could be enough to stretch it, but I just don't see that happening. Going to be interesting. Zupka is the race leader. Jeremy Jeffries is second. We'll have to see if they can get a clean restart here. Hopefully they can get some racing to the finish. But either way, it's been a great night here at Kansas for Zupka. Have to see what he does on this restart with now 37 laps to go at Kansas.
Nice clean restart, side by side. Several rows all the way back.
Jeremy Jeffries looking on the outside of Zupka here, trying to get a run up top. That might actually work for him. Grant Wesley also looking to get a run up there, and we're side by side for turn 2 for the race lead.
Jeremy Jeffries is willing to lead right now. He's not going to wait. He's going to push it and try to get this lead from Zupka.
He's got the better line. I think the outside lane might be where you want to be at this point, but Zupka definitely working the inside very well. Jeffries trying to get the advantage at the stripe. That was close right there for the race lead.
Jeffries led that lap, but barely.
And he'll get that lap led ahead of the 11. Still
and now,
on the outside.
Now these guys, well, they're battling for this position. You've got these hungry guys who start in the back. You got Grant and Sean. They're sitting there ready and licking their chops. They want to get this lead. They want to start pulling away from the pack, too.
Good stuff here at the Kansas Speedway. Jeremy Jeffries working the outside lane here on the 11. Still side by side for the race lead.
Tim's back again. Tim's moving back up. Sean just got around Grant for position.
And I think the outside lane starting to fade away just a little bit there.
Zupka
got a run on the inside of Jeremy Jeffries for the race lead, and Jeffries on the outside trying to keep Sean Prime behind him, but Prime's coming for the second position now to the inside.
And you saw that them racing as hard as they did, like we were mentioning a moment, mentioned a moment ago. Grant and Sean, they were ready. They were licking their chops, and it looks like Sean's ready to take advantage of it.
Grant Wesley helping out the 15 right there, right behind him, giving him a push. The number 8 of Jeremy Jeffries, though, still working an outside lane. But
there's a wreck back here.
And around going someone, it's Locknitz in the 51, and around goes the 83 of Dave Little trying to avoid, and the yellow is back out. But now it's Sean Prime in second, who got around Jeremy Jeffries. Grant Wesley will be fourth, but the leader is still Jeff Zupka in the number 11. Now we have ourselves, at this exact moment, 75 of 107. That is 33 laps to go. That's right at the fuel window. I'd imagine these guys are probably going to come down now.
They're probably going to clutch, and they might stay out a couple laps extra to make sure they got the freshest tires, but they also might start down to it now to make sure they get track position when we go back green. Who knows? It's going to be a split.
This is definitely going to be interesting. This could be the money stop right here at Kansas. But imagine these guys are going to come down since the fuel window is open to make it to the end.
But we may not be through seeing cautions, so some of these drivers may end up opting to take 2 tires as a precaution.
Definitely could see that. 2-tire strategy didn't work out too bad for Zupka and Wesley earlier on. Actually, Wesley didn't come down earlier
Sean
on in the
Prime
race.
had 2 tires earlier on, too.
Exactly. So we might see a couple guys do that. But what do you do if you're the race leader, Jeff Zupka? I mean, you're the guy controlling this race. Do you want to take 4 tires, or do you want to take that strategy of taking 2 tires and keep that track position?
I would always take 4 tires. If this is a tire eater track, I would take 4 tires at all. But with Zupka, we like you said, we saw 2 tires not be that big of a hindrance, but I'd rather do anything I could to stay out front, make sure I can go, hold my position properly. And I'm not sure. He might have taken 2 tires that stop.
I believe he did. Yeah, 2-tire stop there for Jeff Zupka there. Steve Melson and Dave Melson also doing the same than Sean Prime and Jeremy Jeffries. I'm not entirely sure what they chose. We can go back and review that, but let's first of all see what happened to bring out the caution. And it was Lockins in the 51. Bob Lockins going around. We'll have to see exactly what caused him to bring out this caution. 7th of the night here at the Kansas Speedway. And we'll have to see right here. It's looking like the number 7 there, Doug Cady, barely tapped him. I mean, barely. May not even touched him. And Watkins just went around, and then you see the 83 there, Little getting spun around trying to avoid. Very interesting situation. We're gonna take a look at Jeremy Jeffries and Sean Prime, see what they took on their pit stop, because this could definitely determine who wins the race. And it was a 4-tire stop for Jeffries. Take a look at Sean Prime and see if he did the same as well.
Seems like I'm going through the running order real quick. Nobody is out besides Richard Martin and Joe Wheeler, unfortunately, and everyone's on the lead lap.
And we did see Jeremy Jeffries take 4 tires there, so we'll have to see if he gets an advantage. I believe Sean Prime also took 4 as well. So make sure to see what they can do in the top 3, because the top 3 all took 2.
Crivallo is currently the leader at this moment.
And Crivello has stayed down, like you mentioned. Imagine he's going to come down here soon. We'll have to see what the 56 decides to do.
Might be waiting
we
for the
will be
last
restarting
second to
with
make sure
under
he's
30
got the
laps
freshest,
to go.
Might be waiting for the last second to make sure he's got the freshest tires and full tank of fuel. And if he stays out,
he is staying out. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Crivello, of course, he's definitely going to have to make another stop in this race. Well, the rest of the field probably should be able to make it to the end. It's close for them, but they should be able to make it to the end of the race.
And with the lights being out, Crivello staying out on old tires. Supka's probably going to grab this lead, and then you got the father-son combo of Steve and Dave next row back.
To see what those guys do. They also took 2 tires, and I think the dominant guys at this point, they might be in the driver's seat. Jeremy Jeffries and Sean Prime. We'll just have to see how this race plays out.
Here's the thing. We've seen 2 tires gain you a lot of track position earlier on, and the 4 tires, you know, take a little bit longer to take a pit stop, obviously, if you're taking 4 tires. But Jeremy Jeffries and Sean Prime, they came in, they took the 4 tires like you mentioned. They didn't lose a lot of ground whatsoever. They're ready to go. They're right there in striking distance.
Exactly.
But
they might have an advantage on Zuka. But then again, you have Crivello there. He might slow these guys down a little bit, but who knows? That's why we race. Going to be under 30 laps, 29 to go, to be exact, with Crivello and Zupta up front. Steve Melson, Dave Melson in the second row. Then Jeremy Jeffries and Sean Prime in the third row. Josh Metallic and Robert Balcom in row number 4. Here we go. 29 to go at Kansas.
And once again, everyone's on the lead lap. We're all bunched back up together, ready to go.
See how this plays out.
Supta's getting through the gears quickly. He's going to get this run going early.
I'd imagine he would. Crivello there on the inside lane. Hanging tough right now, but that outside lane's definitely going to have an advantage with Supka, I do believe. And off of turn number 2, he's got the advantage.
There it is.
Getting a run on the 56. But Crivello hanging tough there as Steve Melson is in third. But here comes Jeremy Jeffries, the number 8 machine. He's coming in fast as well. As for the race lead, Crivello trying to hang on the inside. But Zupta's going to have the advantage there on the outside lane.
Yellow is back out.
And another one. And around, it looks like it might have been the 7 of Doug Cady, possibly.
There is a truck of, you said it was the 07 of Cady going through the infield there.
So now what do? I would imagine that Crivello's going to have to come down at some point. Maybe he's thinking there might be enough cautions where he can make it to the end. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, he already lost the lead to Supta now. If I were him, I'd come on down this time.
Exactly. Have those fresher tires on the rest of the field. But now, if he does come down, that's going to put Jeremy Jeffries on the outside, and he has slightly fresher tires than Supka does. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out.
Well, now if they wanted to, if they took 2 tires last time, they come and take the other 2 side tires and pretty much have maybe 1 lap fresher, but they would be closer to being even than what they were originally.
So we'll have to see how it all goes down. Jeff Zuka with 2 fresh tires. Jeremy Jeffries with 4 fresh tires from the last caution that we had, not including this one. Let's go ahead and see what happened.
3 drivers coming in pit road.
Doug Cady in the number 7. Definitely a lot of caution tonight. I believe this is our 8th one, and that's definitely played into the strategy of this event. Is actually Katie avoiding something, I do believe. Have to see exactly what happens. And it is ahead of these guys here. Steve Melson. Oh, this was actually farther up front. It was Melson who was on the inside of Jeremy Jeffries, right behind the race leaders. Wow. We didn't really expect this to happen. Didn't see it happen live, and Nelson just lost it. And somehow, everyone avoided him. Great job by these drivers avoiding the 38. That was right off the exit of turn 4. That could have been pretty big,
And
but thankfully
usually
it wasn't.
when there's a wreck up front, it's the more dire of all situations, because you expect the whole field right there bunched up together, especially with this setup and the track format about braking, the tires, and all. We've already seen people try to check up before and spin out, trying to avoid. It's a great job that no one got any further damage or got involved. Meanwhile, I was looking at Crivello. Crivello came in and took 4 tires, along with a few other drivers. There was 2 or 3 other ones that came in along with him. There's a couple more drivers pitting this time by at this moment as well.
Let's see what those drivers do. You mentioned
so far,
Steve Nelson, who did go around.
tires.
He's going to top off right here.
Everyone else seems to have been taking 4 tires right now. Supta and Jeffries still up front.
Go through the field a little bit here. Jeff Supka is the race leader, and Jeremy Jeffries in the 8 machine. Dave Melson in the 13. Robert Balcom will be 4th. John Prime is 5th. Frank Rivard is 6th. Andre Monaghan is 7th. Grant Wesley kind of fell back a little bit there earlier on. He's now 8th. Tim Nofsker is 9th. Marlon Lucet is in the 10th position. You got Josh Metallic there. 75 of Andre Charest. Haven't seen much of him tonight, but just outside the top 10. Good run for him. Jim Gloud in the number 72. I finally got his name pronounced correctly.
He was part of the earlier issue, if you remember, where there was a bump from Grant.
He's rebounded nicely in that 72. There's Dante Risi in the 14th position. He's been kind of in the back all day, but we really haven't seen him involved in any of the action, so he's kept the truck clean. And Stefan Martel in the 57, 15th.
A couple more drivers
coming in 16th. And Benoit Plord is 17th with Dave Robbins, Doug Cady, Tony Fox, Ivan Gonthe, Alan Martin, Dave Little.
David Lawson and Larry Ingram come back in the pit to top off and get probably some fresh tires, as we're about to go back to the green. The pace lights are off right now.
Bob so now, in the 51, Glenn Harris. That's Kerrigan in the 15. Jeff Crivello, who did come down, who was in that battle there with Zupta under the last green flag run. He's come down. He's in the back of the field now. Andre Orium in the 63. Elstor in the 26, and then Steve Nelson in the 38. And you mentioned David Lawson and Larry Ingram topping off.
Now when we're coming back to green here, look at that front row. You got the 2 dominant drivers that have been up near the front most of this race. I don't know if they're going to give each other any slack or not. This is toward the end of the race now. It's not time to basically lay back and enjoy the run. It's basically time to go try to get the lead.
Exactly, and if something happens between those top 2 guys, you got Robert Balcom in the 18, Dave Melson behind him. You also got Sean Prime there, Frank Rivard looking to strike too. Think about this, though. Jeremy Jeffries have slightly fresher tires than the 11. 4 fresh against 2 fresh tires on the 11 machine of Zupta. But Zupta's been the dominant guy in this race. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Back to racing with now 24 laps to go at Kansas.
Everybody getting
Malcolm a little wide off the corner. Zupta will get the advantage on Jeremy Jeffries. Here comes Sean Prime looking to the inside now on Balcom.
Everyone got
good restart of Zupta there in the 11. Jeffries didn't give him much of a battle there for that top position, and he's going to file in the second. But we'll have to see if he has an advantage later on with those fresher tires. They might be jamming up a little bit behind Dave Nelson.
Seems like everyone's settled down right now. They're all getting into a single file formation. couple of side-by-side racing at this moment, but not too many. Seems like those cautions that we had prior, it seems like they finally decided it's time to, be careful and try to race and then get aggressive at the very end. It seems like they've finally learned their lesson on that and be patient.
Still a little ways left in this race, though. Robert Balcom on the inside of Dave Melson. That is for the third position. Balcom's a guy he's not led a lap in this race, but he has been strong tonight, and definitely a great outing for the 18 here as he currently runs in the third position, and Sean Prime's up here as well. Frank Rivard battling with Grant Wesley. A lot of these guys having strong runs right now as they're inside the top 10 here at Kansas, but Zupta has been the dominant guy of the day, started on the pole position, and now leading the field here, coming to 21 laps to go at the Kansas Speedway.
And I'm watching these side-by-side battles back here with the 15 of Kerrigan. You got the 83 truck here of, I think it's Dave Little back here. I might be wrong. But Kerrigan's starting to push himself forward, now gaining a couple of spots since the restart. You got one truck way up high, starting to fall back up there.
Now Stefan Martel in the 57. Only side-by-side battles are in the back of the field, but then again, here comes Sean Prime to the inside of Dave Melson. He's going to clear for fourth, and he almost had Robert Balcom there, but couldn't hold the inside all the way down. Grant Wesley now looking to the inside of Frank Rivard. We'll have to see if he gets the run on him. Side-by-side behind him between Nofsker and Andre Monaghan in the 27. Nofsker's going to take that away in the 088. And they're side-by-side ahead of him. Wesley trying to work the inside on Rivard. But Rivard holding up on the outside lane, and it looks like he will clear the 88 for now. And Rivard just ran his fastest lap.
And I'm looking at these.
Really fast. As a matter of fact, Sean Prime just ran his fastest lap that last time around, a 31.988. The times are still really fast for these guys, and definitely going to be interesting to see how it rolls to the end of this race.
And I'm looking back here where Kerrigan is still. They were racing pretty doggone hard back here, along with Alan Martin, who's trying to make his way forward. You got Crivello, who's stuck back here after making that pit stop, unfortunately getting himself in that position the way he is now. He's now currently up in the 22nd position, trying as hard as he can to march his way forward. It just seems like everyone right now is just wanting to run single file in that middle groove. Nobody wants to go up high or low. If you're going to make a move, you want to make sure you have someone to help you, and you want to make sure you have that run coming rather than going.
Frank Rivard, Dave Melson, and Grant Wesley all under a blanket right now for the 5th position. Rivard's going to take spot away from the 13. The 13's been falling back a little bit. Remember, he only took 2 tires in the last pit stop compared to a lot of these guys who took 4. There goes Nofsker to the inside of Wesley. That is for the 7th position. He really came in hot there in the 88 with the 088, trying to work the inside on the first winner of the season. Here we go. For second, Robert Balcom has gotten to the inside of Jeremy Jeffries. Here comes Sean Prime as well, helping the 18. They're side by side for second as the 8 rolls in the outside lane. He has yet to let the 18 by. Balcom has yet to clear for second. We'll have to see if Jeffries gets the run on the outside and stays in a battle with Balcom. He will. Balcom had to check up a little bit on the inside lane. They remain side by side for second.
And while all that excitement's going on, it's kind of getting exciting back here where the 5 Alan Martin is, along with Kerrigan. There was a little bit of bump drafting back there, and it seemed to me like they were really trying to push to go. Alan Martin, the 5 machine, got a huge bump from Kerrigan just to get by Ben Wall.
We got a big move right here, 3 wide. That is for the 5th position, I do believe. Frank Rivard in the 35. Tim Nofsker with a bold move, but he had to check up, and he going to slip back a little bit there. And Dave Melson in the middle of all that in the number 13 machine. It's a great battle there for the 5th position. They've been really going after it.
And looking right here, Alan Martin following Crivello. Crivello is now currently, he's moved back up into, it looks to be the 19th position, 19th or 20th position here. But he's still got a long way to go, and honestly, you're looking at the laps, we're closing on 10 to go. It doesn't look like we got enough time to have that unless we get a caution. I'm sure Crivello is wanting that caution to come out.
Side by side for 5th. This is a really good battle back in here between Dave Melson and Frank Rivard, Grant Wesley, Tim Nofsker right behind those guys. But Josh Metallic currently in the 9th position here, and Audrey Monaghan in the number 27, rounding out the top 10. Dante Risi First time he's about to crack the top 10 to the inside of Monaghan for the 10th position right there, and it looks like he's going to take it away. Great run for Reese late in the going here of this one at Kansas, and they are still side by side for 5th. These guys have been going after it the past few laps, and I just don't know who's going to get the advantage near the end of this race, but Rivard and Melson, Dave Melson in the 13th, still side by side for the 5th position. It looks like Melson might finally clear him. No! Rivard's still on the outside. But he's going to lose it just a little bit right there now. Right to the inside for 6th, and Rivard is going to fall back as Melson takes the 5th position away from the 35.
And now, once again, Grant Wesley's in position to try to make something happen now. He's
up to the 6th position for Grant Wesley. Tim Nosker now trying on Frank Rivard. Josh Metallic here the strike as well. And Dante Reese inside the top 10 in the number 84. Great run for him late in the going. I believe that might be the highest he has been all race long. Meanwhile, back up front, Jeremy Jeffries is close up to the back bumper of Jeff Zupka. We'll have to see if he has enough to get around him in these final few reps.
He's making the move on Melson.
Once again, another battle for 5th. This time it's Grant Wesley on Dave Melson for that position.
Looks like
and
Grant's
Wesley's going to
it.
easily take it away.
And Benny, we're at about 11 to go.
Number 11 of Jeff Zupka continues lead here at the Kansas Speedway. Jeremy Jeffries is trying to hang with him, and he is. The question is, will he be able to get around him before the end of this race? Robert Balcom here in 3rd. Great run for the 18, and Sean Prime there in the 4th position. Grant Wesley rounding out the top 5 in the number 88. We'll have to see if he closes into the back bumper of Sean Prime here, and maybe, just maybe, contends for this race win in these last 10 laps. 10 to go here at Kansas. The BareBones Racing Series for the number 11 of Jeff Zupka. And the dominant guy here at Kansas, will he get the race victory?
And I'm looking back here at Corbella's pretty much stalled out at 20th, along with Steve Melson, who unfortunately got involved in that incident last caution. He's back in 23rd. They're just mired way back, and there's too big of a gap between that group and the other group, about 4 seconds between the 2 packs.
Nosker now battling with Dave Melson there for the 6th position. Rivard has fallen to 8th. At least he's gotten around Josh Metallic. He's been moving his way through the field very nicely during this green flag run. Great run.
Jeremy Jeffries is ready to pounce on Zupka. He keeps looking a little bit higher, a little bit lower, trying to see what he can find on Zupka to get an advantage.
Jeff Zupka continuing to lead this race in the number 11. Jeremy Jeffries is still right there. And Robert Balcom, if something happens between the top 2, he's there in 3rd. Still great battle back in here for 6th. Tim Nosker now looking to the inside of Dave Nelson. Should say Melson for the 6th position. That's 88's got the run on the inside now.
And we were talking about this earlier, if you remember. We were questioning.
Oh boy, here we go. Frank Rivard going 3 wide to the inside for 6. He cannot hold it there on the inside, but up right there. Melson's going to go on the outside wall. And around. Trying to save it. I think he'll save it. Will the yellow fly? I don't think we're going to remain green. Tony Fox also going around in the 33.
There is
yellow
no yellow.
Is not out. They stayed on the apron.
Yep, and unfortunately that's going to kill all momentum by him. Now the yellow has come out.
And the yellow has now
There is a wreck in turn 1. Steve Melson's involved.
Oh, and another wreck here. David Lawson going around there, but Steve Melson getting caught up, and Ellisor in the 26 also around.
Benny?
Melson did a good job. Dave Melson did a great job saving that race truck there. Tough break for him. Was running really strong with those guys, but saw Frank Rivard go 3 wide, and that just shot him up the racetrack, and he just lost the grip. But now it's going to get interesting.
Benny Watson, I want to ask you, are you ready to play poker and gamble and place your bets? Because look at where we're at, and look at, there's a chance that we may get a 1 or 2 lap shootout out of this.
I think you want to be the race leader on this restart. I really do. So if I'm Zupka, I'm staying out. I think he's been able to hold off Jeremy Jeffries very nicely so far. I think he might be at the advantage to win this race, but, I mean, that's definitely exciting for guys like Robert Balcom. I mean, we've seen 3 wide be attempted a couple times, and actually Jeffries and Balcom, Jeffries is coming down.
I was looking up the
Oh
race.
my, he's the only one coming down as well. Everybody else staying out. Now Balcom's going to be in second for this restart, alongside the number 11 of Zupka. Wow.
The '08 of Glenn Harris is going to come on in as well. I was looking up the replay for a moment. It seemed like it was just one of those tight little racing deals going for position, trying to get a run on the high side between Kerrigan and Melson, and they got together. A little bit of a pinch. I believe Melson was trying to get back in line, and Kerrigan was already, like we saw one of the first cautions earlier, and Alan Martin had nowhere to go. Hit the back end of them, and around they went.
We'll replay this for you guys on the broadcast. We thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight here. The BareBones Racing Series from Kansas is going to be an interesting one. Only a couple laps left to go. Of course, we saw what happened between Dave Melson and Tony Fox there, but farther up ahead, ended up with another accident, this one initially triggering the caution, and right there, we'll show you here on the replay. And you mentioned Kerrigan in the 15 there on the inside of Steve Melson, and Melson just got a little too close to him right there, and around the 38 went.
And I was
Alan
watching
Martin
him
couldn't
for
do
a
anything
while.
but get into Kerrigan there.
I was watching him for a while back here with Alan Martin, Kerrigan, and Crivello. They were really, really racing pretty hard for those positions, and it looked like they had settled it out. And one little slip up, and you can't help things that happen like that. They're going for position. Everyone's trying to hurry up and get that because we've only got a few laps to go, and you can't do nothing about it. And it looks like we might get a couple lap shootout here, and I'm really concerned about what's going to happen here. I mean, I know Supka's been the class of the field pretty much. The only one who's been able to really challenge him has been the vehicle of Jeremy Jeffries back, and he's come into pit. He's labeled in 26 right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's going to be too far behind to have a shot or a chance at this one, unfortunately. Tough break for Jeremy Jeffries, the only one to come down from second, and we don't have any overtime, so once the laps run out, that's gonna do it. So Jeff Supka's still leading, and now Robert Buckham gonna be second on the outside lane. Sean Prime is now gonna be third, and Grant Wesley and Tim Nosker, those three guys who start in the back. 3, 4, and 5 on the racetrack.
And before the caution came out, I was gonna rack your brain about how we were asking ourselves earlier on with how we were told from Sean himself that, this is a hard track to pass, and you got tire wear. Tires come into a big, big factor here when you try to pass someone. We've seen that middle lane pretty much be where you want to be at. And all of a sudden, these guys that way in the back, we were questioning if they were actually going to be able to work their way to the front, and look where they are at the end of this race. They're already there.
With all the cautions, all the pit strategy, I mean, even Sean Prime and Tim Nosker, all three of those guys were racing their way through the front, so even if all that didn't happen, they only had a couple of cautions in this race, they probably would have found their way up front.
And you see Dante in that 84 truck running in 7th with a shot here.
Yeah, I mean, if things get really wild, he could find himself in victory lane. Such a good run for Dante Risi here tonight. First, this is the highest he's been all night long, but perfect time as well, as we're closing on the end of this race.
We're going green this time, I believe. Yeah, the lights are off.
Lights are off, and I believe it's a single file restart for this green-white checkered finish. Of course, it's a natural green-white checkered finish. Finish is 107 regardless if it's under yellow or not, but 2 laps to go until the finish. This will be the last restart of the race. And the number 11 of Jeff Supka will lead us to the green flag. Robert Balcom going to be right behind him. Sean Prime and Grant Wesley. Balcom hanging back, looking to get a run on the 11. Here we go. 2 laps to go at Kansas in the BareBones Racing Series. Who's going to get it done here tonight?
This is where we're going to see a lot of aggressive.
Looking to get a run on Supka. Not going to be able to do it. Supka's going to stay out front in the 11. Great run there.
All going to be
Sean
really
Prime
aggressive.
tapped the outside wall.
And we got a wreck back here.
That's
going to do it. That's going to do it. We got a wreck back here.
Yellow's out. That's going to end the race. 1 lap early. Racing back to the line, Jeff Supka in the number 11 is going to dominate and win the BareBones Racing Series race number 3 from Kansas.
Oh.
And in the back, Larry Ingram went around again.
What happened?
Glenn Harris.
I was watching that when it happened. I was watching Jeremy Jeffries, and he was gaining a couple of positions, and he was looking to pass Larry Ingram. Larry Ingram was already up on the wall, really high up, got on the wall and just lost a little bit of speed there, and back end kicked out when he came back on the trying to get off the wall, and Jeremy couldn't go anywhere and just tapped him, and he went around. That's what brought out the caution. So bad luck for Jeremy. Very bad luck for Larry Ingram, unfortunately, as well.
And we'll replay that after we get the official finish here from Kansas. Jeff Supka on the number 11. He played the strategy right. He was able to keep it out there with 2 tires. And in the end, he's going to be able to hold the field off. Robert Balcom will finish a close second. Great run for him. And Tim Notsker will be third at the end of the day.
Tim got Sean right there at the end, too.
Exactly. That was a close race to the line for those guys. Jeff Supka, the official winner here at the Kansas Speedway in the BareBones Racing Series. We're going to take a look here at what exactly happened to bring out the final caution.
It was on the high side for Larry Ingram.
And Jeremy Jeffries, who was second before the final caution, or before I say the penultimate caution, technically, came down the pit lane. He was the only one to come down. And he'll end up finishing in the 24th position, but this is what happened here to Larry Ingram coming to the restart in the number 28. He just went wide through the corner, tapped the outside wall, and then came down right on Jeffries. Tough break there for the 8, tough break for Ingram, and then Glenn Harris getting caught up as well in the 0-8. Got it wild there. But in the end, the dominant guy will go to victory lane. Jeff Supka in the number 11 from the pole gets the race victory here at Kansas.
And we're about to get ready to do the top 3 for the interviews. But to be honest, Danny, I don't know. I would love to interview the 8 of Jeremy Jeffries. I'd love to get Grant's opinion, his thoughts. I'd love to see what Frank had to talk about with that battle for 5th for as long as he did. Sean as well. Dante, you just tell me who are we going with? Who are we going to bring up first?
Go with whoever you want.
No, by all means, go for it. Are we gonna? You want to do the top 3 finishers, or you want to bring in the outsiders first?
I'm gonna go top 3 to begin with. Bring in Supka in here.
I'm gonna go ahead and get Tim in here first.
All right. So 3rd place. But definitely an exciting race here at the Kansas Speedway. Jeff Supka, the race winner. I'll interview the top 3 guys here from the Kansas Speedway. Maybe interview a couple more, but hope you folks enjoyed the broadcast here tonight. Definitely had a blast doing this one with Jessica Shelton and the Flatout Racing Network guys. Definitely appreciate the call up to do these races. Love doing them, and hopefully I wasn't too bad for you guys. But still, they put on a good show here tonight at Kansas.
We're trying to get them up real quick.
How the season rolls out here in the BareBones Racing Series. And we'll get a few of the guys in here to interview here in a moment. But a very interesting race here at Kansas, Jess. And we knew that tire strategy and pit strategy was going to come into play, but in the end, Supka just had it all figured out, and from the pole, went on to win this race. So, what's your opinion on this whole race here at the Kansas Speedway? Definitely an interesting one here, racing series.
Yeah, everyone was really aggressive there, and we got Tim, who finished 3rd in here now, finally.
And the 088 of Tim Notsker, who started in the back of the field. It was definitely an interesting race for you, but managed to have a pretty solid one and just nicked out Sean Prime at the line for a 3rd when the caution came out. But what's your take on that whole race there? It was a wild one. There were a lot of cautions, but definitely a great run for you guys.
Yeah, it was very eventful. I blew reverse trying to back into my pit stall on the first stop, so I didn't have reverse.
Wait, that's a thing? You can blow reverse?
It was gone, yep. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. I went through my pit box, I tried to back up real quick, and reverse was gone. And then,
Well,
I
definitely
tried
a
to
strong run regardless, and got the third place run. But definitely interesting what happened there with Crevella's strategy. He took 2 tires. I believe you took 4 at the end there. But was there really a big difference between 2 and 4 tires here at Kansas?
Oh, it was huge. This is a very abrasive, tire-eating track. So yeah, the 4 tires is definitely the way to go. I took 2 tires one time when I was topping off for gas, but 4 tires is the way to go.
Well, either way, a great run for you guys, finishing the third position here tonight at Kansas. Good luck on the rest of the season, and thanks for joining us here on the Flatout Racing Network.
Yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting, and I want to give a shout out to the guys at RTT for doing all these broadcast races this season. It's very cool.
Congratulations on the good run, and have a great night, man.
All right, thank you. You too.
We'll get our next driver in here in a moment. I believe he might be interviewing Robert Balcom, who finished in the second position.
Yeah, I've already sent the word to get him in here. Gotta wait for a moment to get him up here.
We're working on the interviews, but either way, take a look at the official standings. I'll read them off to you guys. Yapsuka with the race victory, and here we go. Got Robert Balcom in here, and Balcom finished a second position. I don't believe you led a lap in this race, but still a strong run for you here tonight. But what's your old take on all that happened here tonight at Kansas?
Oh yeah, I'm more or less a long run truck. I like to save my stuff, so I pretty much had mine set up to run the long run. So I was just kind of biding my time. But usually we have a lot of greens here and have green flag pit stops. So that's kind of what I went off. And then when I seen it wasn't gonna happen, I figured it was kind of time to go and get up on the wheel there. But great race, good job to Jeff. I mean, he did what he had to do, stay out. I thought about sending it in there, but it just wasn't worth it. I mean, anything happened, netco or you know how the computer would do, it'll just spin him and me not even touch him. So I didn't want to take a chance. That's not the way I race, and I was happy where I ended up. So good job to him. Good job to Prime. I hate to see Jeffries have bad luck there. He had a good truck too all night.
Robert, I've gotta say 2 things to you. Number one, you've disappointed me because every time I've ever raced against you, you're always pretty much the winner of races that I've raced with you in. And I actually picked you to win tonight. Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
But what I'm curious about is, at any point in this race, did you ever take 2 tires?
No, it wasn't worth it. Once you got a heat cycle, it didn't matter if you had 5 laps on them. Once you got a heat cycle, you might be good for a couple laps, but actually, to me, I think it loosened up. I think a lot of the ones who took 2 tires, it caused them to spin once we got going again. So it just wasn't worth it. Like I said, the few positions I lost on to take the 4, I knew I could make up on a long run. Like I said, sorry I couldn't pull it off. I'm just happy to be racing. I'm the one that's been. I'm the unlucky one that ended up with the coronavirus, and just got over that, and then ended up with double pneumonia and the flu following that. So, just being at a race, I'm blessed to be out here racing with these guys, and I definitely want to give a shout out to my wife and my daughter because I'm gonna tell you, for the last month, me being as sick as I've been, they've been like my own home nurses. I mean, they took care of me, looked after me, and believe me, this has probably been one of the roughest month and a half that I've ever been into in my whole life. So I want to give a shout out to them for getting me through all this.
Well, hey, that is really awesome to hear. Great to hear that you're doing better. And hey, a second place run's definitely a great way to celebrate that. But either way, great run for you. Put on a great show. Great to see you out here. And congratulations on a great run.
And grateful. Really,
good luck on the rest of the season, man.
And everything else, Robert, that you're doing good on the way back to recovery.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all coming out and, like I said, putting this show on for us. Honestly, we're usually a whole lot better than this. I know people say that probably every time, but we really are usually a lot better as far as green flag racing. And I also want to give a shout out to my dad. He just texted me. He actually is watching me too, so that's pretty cool. But thank y'all. I kind of listened to it in the background. Great job on the broadcast. I mean, that just gives us something special, knowing that y'all are putting us out there and letting people see what we can do. And anybody out there looking for a league, I mean, RTG is hard to beat. Great guys, great admins, great competition. I mean, I've learned so much from these guys over here, so I appreciate them just as much as y'all.
Well, congratulations on the great run, and like I mentioned, great to hear about your recovery and everything. And like I mentioned, good luck on the rest of the season. I think you're going to be a hard one to beat this year. Definitely put on a great show and had a great run here at the Kansas Speedway.
Thank you, guys.
That was Robert Bauckham finishing in the second position right there. And
Did
obviously,
you,
the second place finish means a lot more to him than just a good run, obviously, considering all that he's been through. But Jeff Zubka, the race winner here tonight. And imagine we'll be getting
Benny, did you
him
want to
in
go
here
through the
soon.
did you want to get through the official results real quick before the
Yes,
server dies?
go ahead and do that if you have to do that. Jeff Zubka, the race winner. Robert Bauckham finishing second. Tim Nosker in third. Sean Prime fourth. Frank Rivard ended up finishing inside the top five. Great run for him. Grant Resley, Dante Risi finished seventh. Great run for Risi in this one. Audrey Monaghan as well. Ronald Lucet ended up finishing inside the top 10, and then Josh Metallic rounding out the top 10 in the number 35. The Jim Glau finished 11th. Ivan Gonther finishing in the 12th position. Jack Dussault, 13th. Doug Cady, 14th. Andre Charest in 15th. Bob Lockens in the 16th position. Jeff Crivello, 17th. Alan Martin in 18th. Benoit Plourde in 19th. Andre Reume in 20th. Stefan Martel in 21st. Dave Little in 22nd. Dave Melson in 23rd. Jeremy Jeffries, who was one of the dominant guys in this race, was running up front, had the came down the pit lane near the end of that race, 24th. Tough break for him here tonight. David Lawson, 25th. Bielosor in 26th. Tony Fox in 27th. Glenn Harrison, 28th. Larry Ingram in 29th. Steve Melson in 30th. S. Kerrigan in 31st. Dave Robbins in 32nd. Failed to finish. Richard Martin failed to finish, and Joe Woower failed to finish in the number 12, 32nd, 33rd, and 34th, respectively. Steve Melson failed to finish, and S. Kerrigan also failed to finish. Those guys retired from the race, and Larry Ingram finished a lap down. The other 28 drivers finishing on the lead lap. And Jeff Zubka, the race winner, started on the pole, led the most laps. It was all around a great day for you here from the Kansas Speedway. But a lot of wild things happened behind you. But what's your take on that whole race and your race victory here at Kansas?
You guys hear me? Just making sure my mic's working.
Yep, we can.
All right. It was a good race for me. Being up front helped a lot. I just hope it wasn't too boring with the cautions for you guys.
No, it was a fun race. You guys definitely put on a good show. A lot of great racing, especially near the end when you had the two tires, and we were looking at Jeremy Jeffries there with four tires. But what was your whole thought process there when Jeffries had four tires and you had two tires? Did you think you would be able to beat him there, or did you think maybe Jeffries might get to me?
My left sides were pretty decent. They were still close to perfect. I knew if I could keep the lead and control the pace of the race, I'd be in better shape. Like, say if he started coming up close to me, I would just drive a hard lap, maybe another hard lap, and then lay off a little bit, hoping he would heat up his tires and use up his stuff. So I ran every lap, depending on who was behind me and what they were doing.
Still a great run, played the strategy very well, and came home with the race victory here at Kansas. You were the guy to beat tonight, and you showed us all why you were. But great run. Congratulations on the race victory, and good luck on the rest of the season here in the BareBones Racing Series for RTG.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question for you. There was a point during one of the pit stops where a lot of the guys stayed out, or they took two tires, they stayed out, and you were back in ninth, I believe, in one of the restarts. Was it really, really hard to come up through the field when you were back in a little bit of traffic, or was it just pretty much easy to get back up to the front, no worries?
The only reason I had to pit was because I could make it from one more fuel stop for that one. So I had to pit no matter what anybody else did. And I knew anybody who stayed out would have to pit eventually. So I was hoping it would just cycle out to where I'd be back up front and, somewhere in the top 3 or 4.
Well, was it difficult when you had to go back to green back in ninth? I mean, did you have a hard time getting through the field?
Yeah, the setup is so good, and the guys up front are just so fast that you have to hope they make a mistake, or you have to hope that your truck will stick somewhere, wherever you're trying to put it.
So it was a really hard fought battle to get back up to the front. Well, you did it, and it seems like it paid off pretty decent for you toward the end of that, especially when Jeffrey decided Jeremy came back into pit, and You just pretty much handed you the lead, the win right then and there when that happened.
Yeah, but then I had to worry about Robert behind me.
Yeah, I was gonna say Robert
He's
was right there on your back end that whole time too.
I think Jeremy was hoping a lot of people would pit and maybe follow him, but when people stayed out, he's won races doing the same thing. He's beaten us doing that strategy right there. So it's a 50-50 shot on that one, depending on what everybody does in the field.
Well, either way, you were able to hold them all off, grab the first win of the season, and congratulations on the race victory once again. And thanks for joining us here on the Flatout Racing Network. Have a great rest of the season.
You too. Thanks for the broadcast, guys. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And thanks to R2G too for the whole deal, the whole league. It's a great place to race.
Currently trying to
Absolutely.
see if we can't get the driver of the 8 in here.
Definitely a great race for the top three: Jeff Supko, Robert Balcom, and Tim Knopsker. And Sean Prime just barely edged out by Knopsker there at the end, finishing fourth. But obviously, Jeremy Jeffries was one of those guys who was running up front in this race, who unfortunately didn't work out on the strategy for him. And then Jeremy had a great race all around. And, as Jeff was saying, and then more people come down with you there on that last caution. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But either way, outside of that, how do you think the whole race went for you outside of that one incident there at the end?
Oh, the race when we actually got some racing in was awesome. Just hated seeing so many cautions. I think we had some killer racing there with side by side. I know Zupta and I ran like 3 laps side by side there, one of those restarts. So the racing was a lot of fun. The track was a lot of fun. A lot of tire wear, some grip issues on the start. It was a little loose and it tightened up, and it was just fun to drive. You could run inside, outside. It was great. I had a great time, and the strategy call at the end was probably a little bit dumb. I feel stupid for doing it because I thought we'd have more people pit, and then we had the wreck there at the end, and I actually got involved in that one, so that really sealed the deal for me.
Yeah, tough break for you, but still, it did not represent the rest of the race that you had. And obviously, you're going to be a threat this whole season here in the BareBones Racing Series. But either way, thanks for joining us here on the Flatout Racing Network. Thanks for racing, and thanks for putting this whole thing on. And good luck on the rest of the season. We know you're going to be a strong run as the season rolls on.
All right, and thanks to you guys for putting this on for us.
Yeah, Jeremy, one little thing. There was talk about how this race might go into a long green flag run based on history and everything, and how, if you remember before the broadcast started, we were talking about how, it might be a little bit boring, it might be a dull little race or something, but I can tell you, Grant, Tim, Sean being way in the back, along with Mr. Souped Up here. I mean, you guys put on a pretty good show as it was, so trust us, we were pretty much entertained watching you guys.
Yeah, like I said earlier, there was some great racing. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes the cautions, they make for some good racing. You just never know how it's going to go. Just with the history of this track, like you brought up, we've had some caution-free races. We've had a lot of green flag pit stops, and we just didn't get to them tonight. But I'm glad there was a lot to broadcast to show.
And I would like to get one more person, if that's okay with you, Benny.
Absolutely. We'll definitely be open to interview a lot of guys in this race who had interesting runs, and definitely a lot of interesting stories in this race. No doubt about it. But Sean Prime finished fourth. Just got edged out by Knopsker at the line there, but he had a great run starting from the back, and you were up front in that race. But what was your perspective on that race here at the Kansas Speedway? A great run for you guys, and definitely pulled off a pretty good run there at the end.
Well, I had a really good perspective coming all the way from the back. These guys put on a great show. I really apologize. The amount of cautions it did, that's definitely not our usual. But in order to make passes here, you really had to abuse, the truck. It cost you in tire wear for every move you made. And you probably saw I tried making a few moves, but it was fun. Oh my word. When we were racing, and that's what we do. And these guys, they're just, hopefully it showed. These guys are just such fun to race with. We race clean, we race hard, and most importantly, we just have fun. But yeah, I didn't want to see that last lap caution too, because I was at the end there when it was just the four of us on a little breakaway. I just, I said, well, there's no point in this. I'm going to wait till Jeremy and Robert start working on Jeff, and I'm just going to lay back and cool off a little bit. Then I tested it, and I charged up, and I was able to close back up to Robert again. I was like, I might be able to if they get to racing, and then the caution came out. But I tell you, great job by Jeff and Jeremy and Robert, and Grant was up there too. They did a heck of a job, guys. And thank you guys. It sounded like it was a great broadcast.
Well, thank you. And let me tell you, you guys put on a great show here at Kansas. Even though we had a lot of cautions, it was still a great race. A lot of fun action here at Kansas Speedway. And definitely appreciate you guys having a nice, clean race, having fun out there, and keeping it nice and clean for the most part. And hey, we had fun, and good luck in the rest of the season for you guys. I'm sure we'll probably be doing some more broadcasts for you down the road. But great run for you in this race, and just a great race on the racing series.
Well, thank you again. And again, it was great when you can, get away from life's troubles and come here and have a ball like this. And when the race is over, like Robert and I and Jeff were just laughing it up, talking about that last restart. And I nailed that last restart. I had to hover a little behind Robert because I wanted to push him, but I was like, oh, wait, if I turn Robert in front of the whole field on the 2-lap restart, it probably wouldn't look so good. So I lifted just a little bit.
Yeah, it's still a great run for you, and like I mentioned, great race, and we appreciate you putting this whole thing on. And from us here at FRN, thanks for putting on a good show, and good luck on the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys. Great job.
And Sean Prime, admin of the league, and finishing in the 4th position here tonight from the Kansas Speedway. Final thoughts on this race, Jess? It was an interesting one. We did see a lot more passing, I think, than what we expected, and of course, cautions were definitely a factor, but definitely a fun one here from the Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, especially toward the end of that race when we all had our ideas that we'd have a certain winner, and then the dominant car, and pretty much held serve. We were expecting a lot of things to happen. They were telling us it was going to be pretty much quote unquote, and I hate to say this, Sean, you did mention that it was supposed to be a dull, boring, probably not really exciting race, but we got a lot of excitement in watching Jeremy and watching Supta, and we watched Metallic go from the front to the back a little bit. We watched a whole bunch of movement going back and forth. There was always something going on every 2 seconds, so it'll be interesting to see if we come back, what track it'll be when we come back to the next broadcast and see how that plays out.
It'll definitely be interesting next time we have the race here. I'm not entirely sure when that'll be here on the Flatout Racing Network, but obviously you have a lot of online broadcasts and Interseason 3 and iRacing here, so just keep it right here. If you want to see good online racing action like we saw tonight, I think it was a great race. These guys put on a great show, and it's pretty cool to see the dominant guy hold off with the race victory. When someone dominates a race and they don't win, sometimes you do feel bad for him, but not the case here. Of course, Jeremy Jeffries had that happen to him in this race, but either way, great show for these guys, and we thank you guys so much for watching tonight of the BareBones Racing Series on the Flatout Racing Network. But thanks to Matt Rod and Seth Cole for allowing me to call this race here on the Flatout Racing Network. We definitely appreciate it. I know I'm more of an offline guy than an online guy, but I love calling these online races. And let me tell you, this was one of the better ones I've called. I definitely enjoyed watching this one. And thanks to Sean Prime and Jeremy Jeffries, all the guys at RTG and the BareBones Racing Series put on a great show tonight. And of course, thanks to Jessica Shelton for helping me call this race. She did a great job. And we definitely appreciate all you guys watching here tonight from the Kansas Speedway. On behalf of Jessica Shelton, we'll see you guys for the next race. Congratulations to Jess Zupa, your race winner here from the Kansas Speedway. And we'll see you guys next time, whenever that might be. I'm Napa Fan. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.